Hey there, people. This is True Outlaw Patriot. I know that a lot of times when I start my videos, I'll let you guys know that I have a tidbit for you or something like that. But boy, oh boy, I don't have a tidbit for you today. What I got for you today is 2 slices of some of the most rancid pie that could be served, especially in Chicago. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you have heard of all the illegals that have been entering Chicago and just pretty much doing what they want, and the way the leftists and Democrats, are trying to find ways to explain to the I don't even know who's in Chicago anymore. So many people have left, but trying to tell the legal residents that everything's fine, everything's great, we're working on it. And it's just story after story and excuse after excuse after fucking excuse. I'm going to play a little video here. I'm sure you guys seen this already, but in case whoever hasn't, I want you to pay attention to this right here.
Many of these residents say they no longer have any tolerance for the disruptive behavior by those seeking asylum here. It's making them feel unsafe.
They disrespect us, they rob us, they harass us.
And their patience is wearing thin.
Let me say this. They got one more time to deal with it, because otherwise, next time they deal with it, they're going to deal with it from the streets. We're going to take over. Nobody.
Did you hear that? Does that sound like a native Chicagoan fed up with the bullshit? Now, I know what some people are going to say, well, that's what they voted for. True. I believe it 100%. That's exactly what they voted for. They keep voting in these fucking leftists and these Democrats, and this is what they get. I mean, the new mayor that they got in now, God only knows what his intentions are, because the guy, I mean, I don't know how they went from Lori Lightfoot to him. That's number one. But it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the mayor before Lightfoot was just as bad. I mean, to the point that even at the time, President Trump offered, to send help to Chicago, to send in the National Guard, to do something. And his response was like, no, we got it. Yeah, that was nearly 8 fucking years ago. And here we are now. So now you got the residents all upset. And you'll see why.
Nobody's going to be able to stop us from what we're going to do to them.
Much of the residents' anger was directed at city officials in attendance, including 20th Ward Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, Chicago Deputy Police Chief Stephen Chung, and Family and Support Services Commissioner Brandy Kanazi. At one point, police had to intervene, breaking up an argument during public comment.
Okay, that was that.
These residents say they no longer have any tolerance for the disruptive behavior by those seeking asylum here. It's making them feel unsafe.
Now, this is what was said in the paper. Neighbors in another Chicago area neighborhood also rallied against the city this week after leaders announced plans to move migrants into a community gym. Definitely a slap in the face. Definitely not taking into consideration what the community wants, Edgewater resident Greer Gilmore told CBS 2. Frustrations over the migrant crisis boiled over during a monthly immigration committee hearing on Wednesday, where aldermen accused Mayor Brandon Johnson's office of not doing enough to address the safety issues. 42nd Ward Alderman Brendan Raley described how at one hotel housing 1,400 migrants in Streetville, there were about 60 kids, guns in their waistbands, consuming alcohol and smoking marijuana on the public right-of-way, unchecked, and this is not a one-time occurrence, the Chicago Sun-Times reported. So now, you got Chicago inviting in the illegal immigrants, and I seen the news clip to this. You got the illegal immigrant youth hanging out in the street, drinking, doing drugs, carrying firearms. In a city, okay, in a state that has the most strictest gun laws. This is just the first slice that I'm showing you guys. Like I told you, I have 2 slices, not tidbits. I got 2 slices. Because what I'm about to show you right after this is really going to make people wonder what the fuck is going on. As it stands right now, Chicago has fallen. Chicago is in a state right now that everyone that's bitching voted for this new mayor, for the corrupt governor they got, for Lori Lightfoot, the corrupt mayor before that, for the corrupt guy before, I think it was Emmanuel or something like that his name was. And now they're bitching. Now they're bitching. And yet, all these leftists and Democrats talk about all the crime, get rid of the guns, do this, do that. But look at Chicago. A sanctuary city, letting all the illegals in and spit all over the American-born citizens in Chicago. This is what's happening now in Chicago. And nobody wants to talk about it. And if they do, they'll spin it around and make it seem like the residents of Chicago, the actual American-born residents, are just a bunch of ungrateful, people that are, that are against immigration, and, they'll call them all kinds of names. But this is what's going on. Now people are upset. You heard the gentleman. It's not going to end well if it keeps up. Sounds to me like the residents are getting to that boiling point and they're going to hit the streets. And then what? When all of this could have been avoided, now what? It truly is beyond me how these Democratic officials can bitch and holler and scream before an election, put all this fear into their constituents' heads about how bad the Republican Party is, and they're a bunch of racists and they don't care about you and they're doing this and doing that, and yet look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing. And it doesn't end there. Here's some more. Alderman Jeanette Taylor of Chicago's 20th Ward reportedly said Mayor Johnson's aides were hiding the grim reality locals were facing. Tell the issue about the people who are outside threatening residents. Tell them about the sex trafficking that's happening, the drug dealing that's happening, she said. They're outside smoking weed. They're outside having whole parties right in front of the senior building. And the police are scared. Let's be honest. Taylor also blasted city leaders for not taking the crisis seriously enough to bring it up with the Biden administration officials when they were in town on Monday to discuss the city hosting the 2024 Democratic National Convention. Boy, oh boy, will that be something to fucking see. Throw the Democratic Party National Convention there. Please do it with the way everything's going on. I'd like to see how that's going to turn out. I would love to see the cameras outside. Democrats on one side telling their constituents that Republicans are fucking racist, vote for them, while all the illegals are throwing fucking block parties outside, sex trafficking, doing drugs, drinking, and causing chaos. Please let that happen. But let's continue. So y'all didn't think with the Democratic National Convention here, nobody bothered about discussing with Biden and his administration about the conditions that we're having with the shelters and the asylum seekers, Taylor said, according to the Chicago Tribune. How, when we're spending millions of dollars and y'all brought this fancy presentation to make this sound pretty, and it's not. None of this is pretty. None of this is beautiful, she complained. Of course not. But yet right under that, here's the man. The new Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, says city traumatized by violence has enough room for migrant surge. How in the hell, if a city is traumatized by violence, they have room for a migrant surge when the people are telling them of what the migrants are bringing with the sex trafficking, with the drugs, with the criminality. It is beyond me. And I don't even like Chicago. But it bothers me to see these Democratic mayors and governors and judges and officials destroying the inner cities. I have friends and family in Chicago. Some of them are moving to the outskirts. Others are moving out. They're like, we're fucking done. Look at all the businesses that have packed up and left. Look at the people that are leaving in droves. It's insane. It's insane. This is why I said Chicago has fallen. Oh, but I still have to show you the second slice to prove why Chicago has fallen. And there might be some time for it to change. But let me show you what I got. This is the second slice of the pie. Well, let me restart this so you guys can hear this completely.
There's more fallout tonight, just days after Governor Pritzker signed a controversial bill into law that allows non-citizens to become full-fledged police officers.
A former...
Did you hear that? The Chicago governor, on top of all the shit that they're shoveling in their citizens' faces, with letting all the illegals in, letting all that crime metastasize, the regular cops want nothing to fucking do with it. So instead of him giving the veteran cops that are there, the people in Chicago, the incentive to say, let's take the streets back, he says, no, you know what, don't worry about it. We're going to take non-citizens, we're going to make them full-fledged fucking cops. Yeah, let's just let them police their own kind that have been here illegally. If this happens, Chicago will fall. Now, I'm not saying that all these people are going to be bad cops. But when it comes to positions like this in our society, you need to be an American citizen. When it comes to being a judge, a doctor, whatever it is, you need to be an American citizen. When it comes to being the president, you need to be an American citizen. Obama. Now they want to let non-citizens to be cops. Oh, and it gets a little better. And this is why the Democrats, I say, do not care about American citizens. They use the black and Latino people to bitch and holler and moan, and then when they get you in power, they push you to the fucking side. And they bring in the illegal immigrants to start taking your spot. Instead of just taking all that money that's been allocated. Instead of listening to the residents that are here. Instead of listening to their constituents that voted for them. They're like, no, fuck you, we're going to bring in more fucking illegals. Okay? And then we're going to take some other illegals that have been here. Okay? AKA DACA, as you'll see. And we're going to make them police your neighborhood. Here you go.
A Chicago mayoral candidate is threatening to challenge the law in the courts if it isn't repealed before taking effect January 1st.
Scott Schneider joins us now in the studio with more on that.
Yeah, Corey, you just mentioned Dr. Willie Wilson, who says this law stands in defiance of federal law when it comes to who can become a uniformed police officer or deputy in this country, while the bill's main sponsor insists the law is tailor-made for DACA recipients. Police officers here in Chicago and statewide have long been required to be citizens of the United States. With a sweep of his pen last week, Governor Pritzker changed that, as Illinois will soon allow non-citizens who are eligible to become members of law enforcement upon completion of training. State Rep.
Now here's the thing. Everyone knows that DACA should have never happened. It was just another way for the Democrats to keep in more illegals in the country. If anybody remembers, the DACA recipients were actually children that were brought here. Okay, or when their parents came, they had kids here. So they came up with a new name for them, DACA. They came up with some bullshit. We're going to find a way to keep them here. And it's been years that people have been fighting to get rid of these DACA children. Now they're adults. But now they're trying to find a loophole. Well, we'll just make them cops. So they say. They'll make them cops. You know how many DACA students or DACA recipients have gone to prison for breaking the law? How much does anybody want to bet that they'll squeeze in some illegal immigrants into this program to be cops? And then you know what you're going to happen? What you're going to have? You're going to have criminals running the criminals. Just when you want to clean the police force from the bad influence. Now, I'm not saying that all these DACA recipients are a bad influence. But it's that the Democrats are breaking the law after breaking the law after breaking the law. It's like, this should not float. Why the fuck are you doing it? With the Democrats, their attitude is by hook or by fucking crook. That's how they're going to do it. And they hook everybody in, and if not, they'll crook their way right fucking through it. And the reason why I'm upset, people say, well, you know what? You're not even in Chicago. No. But if it happens in one Democratic city, one Democratic state, it'll then push to New York. Oh, I'm sorry. It already did. Because Mayor Adams decided to let, 800,000 non-citizens fucking vote? And don't even start talking about California with the shit that's going on over there with the illegals. And their crime rate, and the drugs, and the sex trafficking. But let's continue.
Rep. Barbara Hernandez of Aurora led the charge to get the legislation passed.
The goal of the bill overall is to allow DACA and permanent residents that are already able to work in this country legally, apply to become police officers.
There are currently more.
See, well, that's where she's wrong. They're allowed to work here legally. Anybody can get a work visa from around the world. It happens all the time. They have raffles in different countries. They bring them here. They work for 3 to 5 years. They go to 3 to 7 years, I believe. They go back, and then they have more process. And then it's a process. It's just a process. The thing is, they are not allowed to hold any kind of status like being a police officer. Why? It's a conflict of interest, at least from my understanding. But these Democrats, they'll paint it a different color and say, you know what? We're going to find a way in through this. And we have every right. We have the right to work here. Why can't we have these jobs? It's the same reason why your parents need to be American-born citizens. You need to be born in America in order to be president of the United States. So that there is no conflict of interest in your heart of where your loyalty stands. Why do you think so many illegal immigrants have to wait years before they become citizens? They know what to look for. They know what to look for when they come out and say, okay, you know what? Now we can trust you to be an American citizen. The people doing the interviews and all that, they're not stupid. Well, it used to be like that. Now, I don't even know who's doing the interviews anymore because it just seems like you don't need an interview now. Just come on fucking through. Anchor yourself in. We'll find a way for you to stay. Illegally. The DACA program does not make anybody legal. What it does is just protects you. It protects you until you can become illegal. They're trying to make it seem as if, you know what? No, they can get a job. Well, shit, if you're going to stay here, you better get a damn job. But it doesn't mean you can have any job. But let's continue.
More than 30,000 DACA recipients living and working in Illinois, and unprecedented officer shortages statewide. But filling those vacant jobs with non-citizens is a non-starter for former Chicago mayoral candidate Dr. Willie Wilson.
I cannot go to China, no other country in the world, being a non-citizen and become a police officer. And I just think that's wrong.
Governor Pritzker speaking at...
There you go. Only in America, with the Democratic Party, Democratic politicians and people that hold power try to do it. Look at Ilhan Omar in Minnesota. Look at the filth that comes out her mouth, the way she puts down white people, America, everybody in her eyes is racist, racist, racist. This is a dirty country. This is this country. Get the fuck back then. Go back to your country. Now, I'm not saying these people that want to apply for these police jobs are the same way. But what I'm trying to say is you need to find out where everybody's heart is at. If you have veterans born and raised in this country, police veterans, leaving the police force in Chicago, it's for a reason. And if they couldn't fucking do it, do they really think that these DACA recipients are going to be able to do the job, number one? And number two, are they going to hold up the constitutional laws of this country and of that city? I'm telling you, people, Chicago has fallen, and this is going to be the start to where they're phasing in all these illegals. You see how they're bringing them in New York, in Chicago, in California. I mean, they're flooding them in by the hundreds, giving them all kinds of incentives, letting them break the law in Chicago. Like I said, with the strictest gun laws, they have these kids out in the street doing drugs, prostitution, carrying weapons, where the police don't even want to go to those areas. Oh, now they're no-go zones? It's what happened. It's happening in Europe, where the influx of a bunch of immigrants going into certain parts of like France and Britain and stuff, where the police have no-go zones. They're afraid of those illegals that they opened up the doors to and let them in, and on their own land. Well, let's continue.
Exclusively with Fox 32 last month on the challenges of finding new cops.
The Chicago Police Department has lost hundreds, 1,500 police officers. Some of that is a result, and we saw that at the state level, some of that is a result of, there was a big hiring trend 20 years ago, and now it's time for them to retire.
This was just...
That is such a crock of shit. Whoever is from Chicago is watching this, you have to agree with me, that is such a crock of shit. That started happening with the mayor before, Lori Lightfoot, with all the crime, stepping on the cops' toes. Lori Lightfoot stepping all over the cops' toes. Until present, I should say. And the cops are leaving. And for that governor to sit there straight-faced and say that, it's because 20 years ago, that's why we're losing a lot, because they're retiring. It's been all over the news how cops are quitting. They're leaving. They're done. They're not retiring. They're quitting. But now he wants to flip it around like we can't hire nobody. Nobody wants to be a cop because you will not let the cops do their job and put the criminal element behind fucking bars. You arrogant, ignorant, pompous person. It's all this criminality that's going on in Chicago. You people, you residents of Chicago, are the front line. For once, with everything you people have been through the past 15 years, let's just say the past 10 years, I have a few words for you. My heart goes out to you, number one. I feel sorry for you and all the innocent victims out there in Chicago. There's been too much bloodshed, especially with little kids, with babies, children, innocent bystanders. So first and foremost, my heart goes out to you. Secondly, stop voting Democrat. Stop voting Democrat. Don't even vote liberal. Don't even vote independent. But definitely stop voting Democrat. Get yourself a kick-ass Republican in there on every fucking level that's going to look out for the people. Take your city back. Take your state back. Take the streets back. Because you know what? People can talk a lot of shit all they want about Republicans. Okay? But people are fleeing New York, California. They're going to Florida. They're going to Arizona. They're going to Texas. A lot of my people from back home in New York, they're moving to Florida. They're like, we're done with this shit. I want to go where I can be free and safe. But damn it, not every city can empty out their population and let them squeeze into red states. Turn Chicago red and you'll see it get better. Put the criminals behind bars where they belong and things will get better. Stop voting in these crooked Democrats and things will get better. Take back the schools. Okay? Take back the streets. Take back your neighborhoods. Now, I'm not saying do it with violence. No way. Anybody that knows, I've said it time and time again, I do not believe in physical violence, nothing like that. But the way the Democrats use you, they use your vote. And what do you get in return? Bloodshed, tears, heartache, chaos, drugs, crime, murder, rape, kidnapping. You get all that in return. That's what you get in return. And why? Because you got guys like that mayor, like that governor, your current mayor, your past mayors, a woman like this, they band together and they say, no, we got it under control. This is what we're going to do for you.
To help with officers with the shortages that they have.
Dr. Wilson isn't willing to wait to see if the new law puts more boots on the ground. He's ready to take the legislation to court.
I've talked to some lawyers already. If this goes through, we'll have to appeal it.
And they should. But you know what? Anybody that's watching that lives in Chicago that might watch this video, and I hope you do, stand behind this man. Because he's right. Now, I don't know what his political stance is, but he is right. You cannot go to another country and get a police job if you're a non-citizen. Why, oh why in America do the Democrats think that illegals have the right to do whatever it is they fucking want? Now, mind you, I'm not saying that every illegal immigrant that comes in is doing the wrong thing. The first thing they're doing wrong, if they come across that border illegally, that's the first thing they did wrong. So in my opinion, it's like, you're going to have a very hard time trying to convince people you're not a bad person. That's number one. But look at all the illegals they shipped into Chicago. Look at the crime that they're bringing to Chicago. On top of the crime that's already there, the homegrown crime. But they won't do nothing about that. But then they'll go and take non-citizens who should have never been here in the first place. They covered them with the title of DACA. And now they're trying to find a way to say, well, you know what? Now we can really get that. Just like in California. Wanting to give a nice bait and switch. They want to give the illegal immigrants driver's licenses because they say, you know what? They need to travel back and forth. But the underlying trick to that is that with a driver's license, you can vote. You see how fucking slick these Democrats are? And this is what they're trying to pull in Chicago. We'll let the DACA ones become the cops. Because then we'll come later on. Look at, they served the community with great distinction. Now we got to make them citizens. They're playing you people in Chicago. It doesn't matter if you're black or white anymore. China, it doesn't matter anymore. The Democrats are playing you. Stop voting Democrat. Take your beautiful city back. There is so much history, good, rich history in Chicago. But as of late, the past 10, 15 years, it's been a damn war zone. Just like Baltimore. Look at Tennessee. Look at Tennessee. They have the highest crime rate in the nation. And this is a state where music is born. It's incredible the way the Democrats let shit just fall apart. But anyway, this is True Outlaw Patriot. I'm very adamant about this. I know I'm very. It boils my blood to see this, the way they're doing this little by little. Instead of doing things to make things get better. But please comment, like, subscribe. If you need to comment, I don't care. Somebody left me a comment on one of my videos. It was just, out of all the other comments, it was just rude and ignorant. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, you're just wasting a few seconds of your life if you do. But please comment, like, subscribe, share it with people. And as always, seriously, stay vigilant, keep praying, and pray for others. Peace.